Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner Football Fans podcast. On this episode, all the way from due west, South Carolina, we have Sooner fan Brandon Reyes, better known as Coach B on Twitter. Coach B tells us how he became a Sooner fan and what it's like to be a fan in SEC country. We also talk Baker Mayfield draft, Rodney Anderson, and Mike Stoops and the Oklahoma defense. Sooner football fans is not associated with the University of Oklahoma, but we do have eligibility left. Boomer. All right, Sooner fans, you got Terry and Rob here again. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
And once again, Caleb is missing in action, watching the NBA, being a NBA snob, as I put it. But we've got a Sooner fan on with us today from due west, South Carolina, Coach B from Twitter, or Brandon. Boomer, Brandon.
Boomer, you guys.
Well, thanks for coming on with us. How are things in South Carolina?
Well, very hot right now.
Hot?
I just got back. Yeah, I got back from being in the cold from Oklahoma, so it's much better now. I know, home.
Yeah, well, it's not much. It's worse here than it was last week. It's not as windy, but it's like 50 degrees and raining. So glad the Sooner, the spring game was last week for sure.
Yeah, it was nice and chilly out there. I wasn't expecting that one, but
Okay. First off, are you from South Carolina originally? Or you Sooner born and moved out there?
Actually, yeah, I'm from Oklahoma, and my parents moved when I was 2 years old to South Carolina, man, and I've been here ever since. I'm 25 years old. I work for Duke Energy. I've been there for 5 years. Just now got upgraded to a Class A lineman, so we got that. Yeah, man, but I've been a Sooner fan all my life.
So is it
I haven't really been to any. Yeah, well.
Is it a family full of Sooner fans? Is that how it worked?
No.
Oh no.
I got Oklahoma State fans. Oh no, yeah. My uncle's a Texas fan. Oh yeah, my brother's Oklahoma State.
So you got to deal with Aggies all the way in South Carolina.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. That's crazy.
So how did you stick with the Sooners with everybody going their different ways?
Well, it was for me. It was kind of like I'm gonna be the rebel, of the family. And then I figured out my dad. He was a Sooner fan. And I just kind of stuck with it, man. I love my Crimson and Cream ever since then. I just, staying in South Carolina and having that OU pride on the back of my car, it don't get no better than that.
So,
being out there in Oklahoma and being with, I would say you guys are my family,
Yeah.
And it's like coming back home again because it's been such a long time. And it was a blessing to go out there.
So, do you get flack from the SEC country out there very much?
Oh yeah, man! I swear, I get pulled over 5 times a week just from Georgia cop coming in there. Hey, we kicked you guys' butt, right? Yeah, I know it. All right, but yeah, it's not too bad because OU, we have a really good reputation in college football, so it's not. I don't really get much. Especially from Alabama fans. There's more Alabama fans than there are Clemson fans down here, it seems. So I get ragged on by them pretty much. But
Well, don't feel bad about that. My son was in the military for years, and one of his best friends and a good friend of our family is now his name's Matt Vick. I'm going to throw it out there for him. He's a huge Bama fan, and we hear it all the time, except he went quiet for about 10 days after the Sugar Bowl. But every national championship, I got the text from him, that Oklahoma is always left at the dance. We never get to it. We get, we're like a prom date that, the prom, their date doesn't show up and stuff like that. Yeah. So we deal with it here too. Bama fans they're not as obnoxious as some, but they can be.
No, I have, my wife's family, some of them are just, they get obnoxious. They're Alabama fans, and they're diehard, man. And I'm a diehard Sooner fan, believe me. But, man, I don't know. Next topic.
Next topic. All right. So, we have our little questionnaire. So I always kind of like to throw this stuff out there to, so everybody kind of gets to know you. And so, but I'm going to jump to the alternate jerseys because, apparently I threw a deal out on Twitter last week and I didn't realize it was that hot of a topic, but.
Oh, the alternate jerseys we got a lot of Sooner fans that are into their superstitions, and those jerseys are probably one of them.
Yeah, yes, that's me and Rob, right, Rob?
Yeah. We don't. Terry and I are old school. We don't really like messing with the jerseys or the helmets, for that matter. I mean, it's good for second-rate schools like Oklahoma State, but
they got tons and tons of them, man, but it don't help their cause none.
Yeah. But, it's like I said, it's just a, traditionalist and, with the stuff on Twitter, it came back, there were, I had people put up the jerseys over the last 80 years. Well,
Right.
My deal on it until we changed jerseys with the change in time and things like that. The 60s, it changed from this to that, and 70s, whatever. So in my opinion, when we start wearing, stormtrooper jersey or stormtrooper gear to play football, then we can change the jerseys to fit, the stormtrooper.
Right.
hey, I think we ought to bring back the 80s mesh.
Yeah, the 80s mesh.
Yeah,
I think the mesh is gone forever, thank God. But
especially now with the Jordan brand.
Oh yeah, the Jordan brand, and that's a whole nother topic. I mean, it's I know it's good for the university and the recruiting and stuff, but it seems like every shirt, even if it's a football shirt, it kind of looks like a basketball shirt when you got when you got Jordan up there. Yeah, and then somebody said it also it kind of looks like an upside down Longhorn too. So,
I'll take it for what it's worth, man.
Yeah,
upside down Longhorn, Jordan symbol.
Exactly. But you're one that believes, that also that the Sooner, a Sooner fan cannot root for the Cowboys or can't be a Cowboy fan as Oklahoma State fan.
Absolutely not. I mean, the only way I'm going to root for a Cowboy, period, is if it benefits my Sooners. If it don't benefit my Sooners, then, they can lose in every sport. It wouldn't hurt my feelings none. And that's just my opinion. But,
the only way I root for a Cowboy is if he's on the back of a bull.
That too, we wouldn't count in that one.
Yeah.
I'll root for him.
Yeah, I'm just one that, I know that there's a lot of fans on both sides out there that are like, well, I root for OSU when they're not playing OU. No, I don't. I can't stand OSU. I don't root for them ever. I don't really root for them when they're playing somebody. I want them to do well if it benefits Oklahoma, but I'm really not rooting for them. And I think there's a difference in that.
That's me. You're not like rooting for them, but you're like, it's going to benefit the Sooners, so we'll see them do well once. All right, come on.
And then if they screw that up, then we can cuss them again because they usually do screw it up. And it's like, really, guys, you couldn't help us out. You couldn't win one game to push us forward in something. But yeah, it's I don't understand that concept of being a fan of both, but. So let's get on to some topics here. You obviously a big, as all of us are, big Baker fans.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to start off with the question I had for somebody earlier was, what did you think of the Sports Illustrated cover?
Well, let's see.
I'll just tell you, and Rob can share his. It makes me uncomfortable to look at it.
Yeah, well, I guess that as an OU fan, we're kind of like, used to seeing them in a uniform and stuff. So seeing them, bare chested holding a grip of football is just not normal. But hey,
I'm saying we don't hate it. I don't want to. It's just when I saw it, I was like, what's all that about?
Kind of off. Hey, Tom Brady was on one. You remember that?
Yeah, but
we'll take.
And there was
can be shirtless.
There was a guy on Twitter when I put that out there on it. He put, my dad has every Sports Illustrated framed in his man cave that has a Sooner on it, and he goes, I don't think this one will make the cut. So,
Hey, that's bad.
Yeah.
Considering what Baker's done for the school
Yeah.
and for the program itself. So, yeah, that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
He could just take a Sharpie there and draw a T-shirt on,
Yeah.
a wife beater or something. Look at me, I'm dead sexy.
Yeah, but hey, it's Baker. That's the thing. I mean, if you thought anything different, I mean, look at the cover that he was on right before the Heisman and stuff. I mean, he's not. It's not a traditional. There's nothing traditional about that guy, which is why we all loved him. So,
absolutely.
And
That's it, yeah.
I used to tell everybody, all the friends of mine that, especially Oklahoma State or Texas or whatever, that didn't like him. He's a lot like Nick Saban to me. I mean, if he's your quarterback, you love him.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not your quarterback, you can't stand him. Same way with Nick Saban. If Nick Saban was the coach of Oklahoma, we would love him, but he's the coach of Alabama, and we don't.
Nope.
That is true. Regardless.
So what are your thinking on the draft with Baker? Where do you think he's going to go?
Well, I think he's going to go number 1.
Really?
To be honest with you, because I think he will. Because I don't know just why anybody would pass him up.
Number 1 overall or number 1 quarterback?
Sooner fan. Number 1 overall. Definitely go to the Cleveland Browns. Just because they have a history of going in and drafting a quarterback first round and making a bust. But I think with Baker Mayfield,
that's my fear is that they get him because we've said it before. That's where quarterbacks go to die. I mean,
it's not. That's not me having belief in the Browns organization at all. It's me having belief in my quarterback. I have belief that he can, uplift. I mean, he can't do it all by himself, of course, but I believe, if they want a winner, you got your guy at number 6, man, and that's my opinion.
And that's a good one.
It is a good one. I mean, how many times does he have to win to make a bleeder out of the entire nation?
That's the thing, man. I mean, you can't let we go in, get beat in the Rose Bowl by Georgia, and you can't blame any of that on Baker. I mean, he sailed a couple passes, threw a pick, but I mean, you look at what he's done for the Sooners all year long, and I mean, just to walk on 2 times, to a program as big as OU, and start, and then just to end up a Heisman Trophy finalist and to win it all, it's just unbelievable. And just watching him perform. I mean, you couldn't tell me that any of them quarterbacks perform better than Baker, even if they can get the ball a little further down the field. I mean, nobody's got the fire, the energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Y'all get it.
Well, and there's a lot of the draft experts have been throwing out his height and everything else, but I mean, Rob, who was it that they was compared him to?
It's just a number.
The kid from New Orleans.
Yeah, what's the New Orleans? Can't think of the New Orleans quarterback.
Drew Brees.
Yeah, Drew Brees. Drew Brees is the same size. Is same size.
I mean, he's a great quarterback.
Yeah.
Man. And that's the type of quarterback I would see Baker to be. But I would see him more with an attitude like a Tom Brady. He's got that fire in him to uplift an offense, and I think Baker's half the reason. I mean, the offense wanted to play for the kid. You know what I mean? If there wasn't a guy on there that didn't believe in number 6, and I believe any team that picks him up, I mean, that he'll instill that, with them. And I believe in him. I really do, and I really love for him to prove me right.
Yeah.
Especially with an organization like the Browns.
Okay, Brandon. So let me ask you this: since Baker is moving on, and we are Sooner fans sitting around talking about Sooner football, do we have someone that's going to replace him? How big is that drop off going to be? Kyler or Austin?
Well, right now, Kyler's excelling. He's got his head in baseball. I mean, from what I've seen of him and what I've seen of him through high school, man, he's an excellent quarterback. I mean, he's got everything you need. I mean, the only problem is for me, is, you want a guy that's coming in with his mind on football, man. You don't want to come off baseball. That's for me, as I'm not a coach at football, but I have that kind of. But I believe we'll see. Kendall in the last of the year, and we'll see Murray a lot at the beginning. But I believe we'll end up with that pocket passer and that traditional, get the ball down the field. Because what I've seen of Kendall, at the spring game was really good, and that ain't saying much considering it's a spring game. But I believe we got a battle on our hands for that quarterback position.
Yeah, and honestly, Kendall surprised me a little bit with his mobility. He was able to move. It wasn't like he just stepped back there and stood still. I mean, the first play was his own read.
He wanted to prove.
Yeah.
He wanted to prove that, and I can also, move. Being a quarterback, that's not your job. Your job ain't to run the ball. Your job is to get the ball down the field and make good plays with your arm. And having that speed, it helps. It really does. But, I mean, you got to think more efficient. What's going to be more efficient, getting the ball down the field or,
Right. Well, and Baker didn't have blinding speed. I mean,
absolutely.
He never outran, I don't think, anybody.
Kyler does.
Yeah,
Kyler does.
Yeah, he's got some speed, but another thing is that in the Major League Baseball came out with some of their draft stuff. He's on number 36 on the draft board.
Yeah, I see. He's batting really good, man.
Yeah.
He has been for a while.
So that's something. That's something that we got to look at in the coming season or the next two seasons, because being the 36th draft pick in Major League Baseball, that's a bunch of money. And
that'll come in what, June?
Yeah, and that he may be here, for 2018, but if he's got a chance for a $1.5 million signing bonus with somebody, I know somebody coming offer me $1.5 million to do just about anything.
For number 36, that would be relatively low, I think.
Well, they were saying it's about it's a signing bonus would be about 1.5.
Oh yeah.
And then they'll put them in a farm league and go. So, and like you said, Brandon is, I don't think he didn't perform well in the spring game, but he wasn't sharp because his focus isn't on football right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line to it, and especially now that he's getting, all these MLB recognition. He's 36. Yeah, that's a big. That's something to be proud of. That's not low on any.
No, I think the biggest thing though with Baker, and what I'm interested to see is who picks up the slack of leadership, and we've talked about that a bunch on the podcast.
It may be Buki.
Yeah, it may be Buki that one. I mean, because that kid he's because Baker not only demanded and had the respect of the offense, he had the respect of the defense, because you saw him in games several times down in defensive linemen's faces. And
it would be odd and rare for a freshman to come in and lead the team, but from what we could see as fans, that looks like kind of what's happening.
Yeah, Buki.
Now, some of those guys that are seniors this year, they may step up and say, "Listen, young man,
well,
hang on,
or
the brakes,
or he may tell them, well, then you step up and do it, or if you're not, I am, because." I mean, I've seen some of his tweets and some of his stuff out to other people, and he's a leader. I mean, I saw some interviews with some recruits who'd said that they'd gotten messages from him, and he's just like, if you don't have game, don't come here, because we're building something special up here. So that's what I'm interested to see, because I think that as much as Baker was a playmaker, he was a leader, and that to me. Because I think our offense is going to be fine, but that to me was one of his intangibles that is going, is going to be noticeable next year. And
right, oh yeah.
And I'm just hoping that there's somebody in there that steps up and takes that leadership role.
And I think there will be one of those upperclassmen that already maybe kind of Caleb Kelly or somebody like that that's already somewhat of a leader. I mean, when Baker's there, everybody else is kind of following him.
Right.
Now that he's gone, somebody will emerge, and really, I think it'll be one of the upperclassmen.
Yeah. So you think it'd be you're a big Rodney Anderson fan. You think it'll be Rodney that'll step up for that leadership role, Brandon?
That would be. I mean, for what I've seen of Rodney so far, man, he's the guy that, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that I don't know leadership wise, but I know athletic wise. I mean, he's been just top of the notch. Have you guys seen the video of him jumping out of the pool?
Yes.
And that's a year old.
That blew my mind. Right? Yeah. Okay.
And then I don't know what it ended up being, but there was the one of him doing the vertical jump, the box jump. That
man.
It was like to his chin, and he got up on it. He's got some power.
Well, he's 6'2", 200, isn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
I bet they put some weight on him. 6'2", 200 was his last year's physical stats. If he's 6 foot 220 or 6'2", 220 and still running, as fast as he was, he may be a force to be reckoned with this year.
And and living here in Norman, me and Rob live here in Norman, so you kind of hear, little stuff come out. He was hurt his first 2 years, but all the time up before he got hurt, you heard talk of Rodney Anderson. It was like, hey man, we got Mixon, and then there was P. Ryan, and everybody's like, y'all don't want to count this kid out. Then he got hurt again, and now he's healthy and had as a productive season as anybody in a half a season, because that's really when he picked in. But
right, well, I mean, as long as we can keep Rodney healthy, and keep himself healthy, I mean, I think nothing but great things out of that kid, man. When he gets, into the second level, I mean, he is so hard to take down. You watch people get out of his way. Yeah. Because they can't drag him to the ground.
Well, I think he averaged almost 4 yards after contact this year. It was like 3-point-something yards, 3.7 yards. So when you hit him, he's still moving. So
yeah, man.
Well, he's still going to split a backfield with Trey Sermon.
Oh yeah,
and then you got Sermon, and that's a whole nother force to reckon with. Back there, and make plays.
Sermon to me is a bigger. He's not yet, but he will be a bigger, stronger, and faster and more physical back than P. Ryan. Because you look at him now. I mean, look at him last year. He ran people over.
Oh yeah.
And I think he's gonna, once they get him fully developed, because he was just a freshman. Once they get that boy fully developed, he's gonna be a beast. So who in your opinion is the better back? Is it Rodney Anderson or Mixon?
You say Joe Mixon?
Yeah, Joe Mixon or Rodney Anderson.
Man, well, Joe Mixon, I'd have to give it to him because, well, he's already been there and done that.
Yeah.
He was real good.
Yeah, he's special, but I mark my words, and I don't say this very much. Before Rodney Anderson leaves, I think people think he's a better back than Joe.
Hey, I'd be all on board for that.
I think he has potential to be one of the greatest running backs.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not the greatest running back because we've got a bunch of them.
Yeah,
he would have already had to have,
But I mean, with splitting the amount of time he did last year, and then really becoming the primary back. I think it was about Kansas State, wasn't it? Yeah, it was around Kansas State's when he became the primary focus. He had over 1,000 yards rushing. So and splitting carries and. Then by the Rose Bowl, he was it. I mean, he just got spelled, by Sermon. And then, of course, it's always great when you put him and Sermon in the backfield. Yeah. That's always a scary thing.
It's a good 1-2 punch for sure. Plus, then when you throw in Kennedy Brooks, who is the speedster, it could be interesting in the backfield.
I'm ready to see Kennedy Brooks, man.
But Okay, let's get on to some defensive talk. How about let's talk a little bit of defense, as most people think, and I think rightfully so. I feel this way. We needed one stop out of our defense to get to the national championship game, and we couldn't get that one stop. Now, granted, there was other things, in the third quarter. The offense didn't move. The squib kick is, a popular topic here. Why did we squib it? But bottom line, you score. What do we end up scoring? 40. Enough. 48 points or whatever. You should beat somebody.
54.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
So
if you wear a Sooners jersey, you score 48 points. You shouldn't get beat.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So does it all fall on Mike? You think? You think it's time for him to go, or?
Oh yeah. Well, I definitely say it's time for him to go. I'll give him this year to prove me right, because it's what's going to happen. I have a feeling. If he's going to run out and do the same thing he has been doing that obviously hadn't worked. We got all the way. It pretty much put it. Baker Mayfield got us all the way to the Rose Bowl, and we lost because Mike Stoops didn't want to put the right play call and put these guys. 3 men on the line of scrimmage killed us all year long, year. And that's all. We didn't really have the corners and the safeties to really do anything else with, I guess. But
that too. We talked about this on our last podcast. That too. It does come back on Mike. He doesn't have the personnel or didn't trust the personnel. Well, he's been there since 2012. Now,
he does the recruiting.
Right. So what's the problem in getting the type of personnel that you want, or they just not develop into what they want? I'm in the inclination, and go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, one thing that me and Rob try to get across to people, and whether people like it or not, but they will never fire Mike Stoops. Okay, Mike's.
Oh no, he'll have to step down.
Yeah, and I think he will. I think.
Oh yeah.
This is his life, his livelihood, and whether people now think so or not, he's part of the reason why Oklahoma is back. Him and his brother, primarily his brother Bob, came in, and those first years that they was there, from 98 to 2004, I think is when he left, was in 2004. We had one of the best defenses in the country, and it was, and he was responsible for it.
Yeah, but your excuses, not your excuses, but the excuse that his people or whatever. When he came in, we won that national championship. That was not his defense.
Right.
It may have been his scheme, but it was not his players.
Right. Yeah, Torrance Marshall, I think, was about the only one that...
Was he?
Yeah, Torrance was... They recruited him from a junior college.
Okay.
They brought him in. But you're right. Roy Williams and all those guys were, what's his name? Blake's players. Mm-hmm. But, they're going to have the respect for him to just, if it turns downhill, which it could, but they're going to have the respect for him, enough respect to go, hey, it's time to retire or move on. They're not going to fire him, and it's not ever going to be portrayed as firing. But personally, he's now our defensive coordinator for another year. I think that's painfully obvious. Now we just got to hope and pray that he that he does what he's supposed to do. Because
I'm definitely hoping that that's the case.
Yeah.
I want to believe in Mike Stoops just because his last name is Stoops, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, he's got no excuses now because Parnell Motley's got another year. Bookie's in. He's got some players back there that as long as he coaches them right, they're going to be good.
Right. And, we've got a defensive backfield now. We had two freshmen, playing in the Rose Bowl that he put in there because the upperclassmen weren't doing the job. So now we got some experience.
And they did a dang good job.
Yeah. For a freshman, 18-year-old kid, getting thrown out into the granddaddy of them all.
Nothing like growing up quick, is
Yeah,
it?
So he's got the talent. They've got talent coming in galore right now. I mean, with all the commitments that they got and the kids that are going to be on campus, it's we're just like you. This 3-man front gets things thrown at a TV.
Drove us crazy.
Yeah, man. I already went through $3,000.
And then, along with the 3-man front, you're not putting any pressure on, and then your corners are 10 yards off the ball. And
that's my thing. Why are you putting your corners 10 yards off the ball? I mean, that's free space. You're leaving gaps wide open down the field, man. I don't know. If you can't see that, that's getting us burned every time. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see when we send pressure, we get somebody off the edge to come get in that quarterback's face. Our defense, we get turnovers. I mean, we just look a lot better. But when we play this conservative type, we get beat, man. We get drugged.
Yeah, you get
every time.
Yeah, we get into that mode of we want to keep the ball in front of us, which I think is crap unless it's.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Well, what I would like for Mike to explain that. Now, he doesn't have to explain himself to anybody because he's
yes, he does. By God.
But here's the thing: as just football fans like we are, we're not paid to be NCAA coaches or anything like that. I want to know what his thinking is in that type of play, and I understand more than it probably makes me even worse that I understand that. When the offense comes out in certain sets, then that's going to put the defense in certain sets. And so that 3-man front is a set that is relegated based on the offensive set.
Right.
If that makes sense at all. So what I would like is for Mike to say, listen, the reason that we're in 3-man fronts is because they're coming out in this set and it pushes everybody this way. The reason that we're off the ball 10 yards is because if we're on the ball, then they're going to beat us deep with crossing routes or whatever that is. And I just would like to hear him say that.
Right. That what's the reason? Because it doesn't make any sense to any of us fans just sitting there watching it.
No.
The Baylor game, we should have, skull drug Baylor.
Destroyed them.
Yeah. And it was just like, are you kidding me? It was just play after play after play.
Iowa State.
Rob just whispered Iowa State. For Iowa State to put a 99-yard drive together,
embarrassing,
was on our home field, almost made me puke. I mean,
it did me too. I had to sit here and watch it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was at home. I didn't go to that game, and I was just sitting in here, just like, you've got to be kidding me. We've shared it before. We have, the away games and even games that are home where we don't go to, but, we call it the rally patio. When it's a close game, we go out on our patio and watch it out on the patio. And my son came in here to me and was like, Dad, let's go to the patio. And I was like, it's Iowa State. I don't need the patio for us to beat Iowa State. And I didn't go on the patio. And I'm superstitious. My son came in and blamed me. Caleb did. He came in and was like, see, it's your fault. If you'd have come on the damn patio, Dad, everything would have been fine. And I still stand by it. I shouldn't have to go to the patio against Iowa State. That's just me. But
you're right.
That was, to me, that drive was the most embarrassing. That was right after we fumbled on the zone read. And they put together a drive just right down our throats, just right down the field and scored. And that was one of the most embarrassing things I saw last year, that we allowed Iowa State to do that.
Yeah, and the middle linebacker for Iowa State was a quarterback too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you had to bring that up, Brandon. We had all forgot that. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Well, that was
you should have won the Heisman Trophy.
My head the worst. I was like, we just got drugged by a middle linebacker quarterback.
Yeah, they didn't even have a starting quarterback. They just they just benched there, or he'd quit. I can't remember what all happened with that deal, but
yeah, he walked out. He said, "Hey, we suck. I'm not going to Oklahoma because they're going to kill us."
And they pretty much got a guy out of the stands to come in and play quarterback, and beat
come in there, whoop that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, and
In Norman.
yeah, in Norman.
Oh man, bad day.
Yeah, it was a very bad day. But again, I mean, that just goes to show you. I mean, in my opinion, that's where, and I think Rob's and yours, and that's what we're talking about. Our defense just didn't perform last year at a championship level. And
yeah, and then we say that, and then we see what they do to Ohio State, and then we just got our hands in our head, like what, you know, like
yeah, it was the same thing.
Play that well, yeah, and then
well, and even in the Rose Bowl, you know, how do you hold Georgia to 17 points in the first half, and then just you know
fall apart,
just
completely.
big gaping holes.
Yeah,
in the second half.
Huge holes.
It's just like two different defenses.
And,
yeah, it was ugly.
But again, I think,
I cried.
yeah, I think, you know, the defense, you know, we hope and pray, whatever, that it's got the talent there and the scheme is there. And I'm telling you, you know, the spring game, you know, you saw them using Bookie. Bookie's going to be a free reign back there. When he sees the opportunity, to come off the edge and blitz, because they did quite a few safety blitzes with him, and of course he had to pull up at the line, but he was reading. He knew he had people behind him, and for the coverage, and we haven't seen that in a long time. That type of athlete back there at the safety, and I think that's where he's going to be.
So are you calling it now? Is it a dramatic improvement in the defense this year? Are you calling that?
I think we will, instead of being a 60th ranked defense, we'll be in the 20s. Yeah, 67th. I think we'll be in the 20s.
I think with a 20th ranked defense, you can win a championship.
Yeah, and I do too.
Oh yeah.
What do you think, Brandon? Do you think we're going to be that improved, or you think we're going to see the same thing?
Well, it just depends on how. If what you're saying about Bookie is that if they let him come off the edge whenever he feels free and stuff like that, man, I think we'll improve definitely.
And there were a lot more four-man fronts. There were a lot more four-man fronts in the spring game,
and that'll help a lot still on an edge too. So
yeah. So we're looking at, again, I mean, I understand everybody's frustration. It's not as bad. It's funny. It's not as bad on Twitter if you see stuff out there, about Fire Mike Stoops. But if you put anything, we got our Facebook page too, and if you put anything out there about our defense, it is like post after post after post after post of,
I guarantee it.
Mike Stoops needs to go. The reason why he needs to go. Not as bad on Twitter, but man, on Facebook, I mean, just it's horrible. I mean, but again, they're not going to fire him, but he is what we got now, and so if we're not drastically improved, we've got to get out of this setting of we're going to we can just outscore the opponent.
That's Texas Tech mindset.
Yeah, the Texas Tech, we're going to put up 78 points, and you're going to put up 72. I don't want a team like teams like that don't win championships.
Right.
And that's what I feel like that we've kind of been these last couple of years. Is we're just going to outscore whoever we're going to play. We're not going to be able to stop them, but we can outscore them.
Yeah, and that's bad because we end up with players like Baker Mayfield, who wins the Heisman Trophy and should win the national championship, and end up one game short because of a defensive call or defensive assignment, whatever.
Yeah,
that's just.
It was a very frustrating year, but
it was.
we've got a lot of good guys. I think that are going to make an impact coming in. We are deep at it. We've got some experience at our corners. We got experience on our defensive line. And we got experience at linebacker, and we're deep in the linebacker. So I really think we're going to see a different, if we have a top 25 defense this year or a top 30 defense, we're going to the championship game, and we should win it because I think our offense Baker did a lot, but I'm telling you, even Patterson. At TCU,
Gary Patterson.
Yeah, Gary Patterson. After the game, the Big 12 championship game, he's like, whoever gets to play him, good luck. Covering that offense, because it's a dynamic offense, and Riley's got a dynamic offensive mind. And I think he needs a dynamic defensive mind behind it to shut everybody else down. And hopefully Mike Stoops becomes that in the next year. So, or not, or it may be, it may be a case where he ends up resigning and moving on or just retiring. I don't know, but definitely defense is where our struggles have been, and which is for Sooner fans like us, it's not something we're used to.
No.
No, man. Used to having a stout one.
Oh yeah, and when you're as old as me and Rob, you've never seen, for going back to the 70s and early 80s, it's when you saw our defenses just weren't like this. They just didn't give up these type of points.
No, and it's just disgraceful to be a different defense. Yeah. I mean, we're better than that. We're a blue blood program.
Yeah.
We need to have blue blood defense.
Yeah, it needs to get better. Excuse me, needs to get better and get better now. Well, Brandon, hey, we got some Indian tacos that my wife has been fixing, and if we don't get in there to the Indian tacos, she's just going to throw them away just to spite us. So
we can't be having that.
No, but Matt, we really appreciate you being on, and we do want to do it again. We got more stuff coming down the way, and especially as the season gets closer, we're going to have more stuff for Sooner fans like yourself to do with us on the podcast.
That'd be great, man. I enjoyed it.
But again, thanks a lot, and Sooner fans, we'll see you next time. Boomer Rob,
Boomer Terry,
and Boomer Brandon.
Boomer, you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. If you want to be on the podcast and talk Sooner football with us, go to www.soonerfootballfans.com. Click on the How to Be on the Podcast tab, fill out the form, and we'll get you on. Boomer.